Okay, hello, namaste. This is Hariharan Iyer, the entertainer, and I welcome you to yet another entertaining episode of the Entertainer Show. And we recently had Women's Day. So we just thought, why not celebrate lives of two amazing women who are part of my life, part of the community that we are there together, Dr. Anjana Vinod and Juhi Gupta. So, before I kind of give a formal introduction about them as to who they are and what they do exactly, obviously they'll talk more about themselves. First of all, welcome Anjana, welcome Juhi. And uh, the breaking news is I have not prepared any questions, so I don't know what I'm going to ask. Okay. So if I get stuck somewhere, you can ask me questions or you can ask each other questions and somehow complete this episode so that it saves us some embarrassment. Okay. So this is the most unprepared chat show I have ever conducted in my life. And I've conducted very few of them. But I'm learning to conduct unprepared chat shows. Okay. So before we begin, let me do a Kapil Sharma on both of you. Did you ever in your life imagine or dream that you would ever be part of my entertainer show?
In fact,
came into trainings because I want to be on your show.
अच्छा, अरे क्या बात है.
Yeah. So while
uh,
while Juhi says that, I think of course, we all come into training space for one particular thing. We have all heard about the Oscars, which is one of the most prestigious things. Your
Right.
show is the Oscar interview for me.
I thought Juhi was a liar. But I don't know what to make of this now.
You started off it in a Kapil Sharma show, so we replied to a Kapil Sharma show format only.
Okay. So I must tell my viewers here that Dr. Anjana is featured in one of her books, Eves Against the Odds. The stories of inspiring women entrepreneurs, which I have co-authored with Bhavesh Kothari, available on Amazon. And yes, Anjana has a very strong backstory, very inspiring. And Juhi, an absolutely wonderful HR professional, a training professional, a colleague for last few years. We're working together on many various projects. So let me start with a very cliched question. What does Women's Day or women empowerment, as we keep talking about, what does that really mean to you guys?
So, Anjana, would you like to go first?
Sure. So, you know what? Initially, when I used to hear about women empowerment and when I used to be called for this Women's Day show and everything, I used to feel that, wow, there's a day dedicated to us and stuff like this. And then I started thinking that, is it really needed that a day needs to be dedicated to us? And the answer was simply yes, because, otherwise, every day is a routine life. That one day making you
Yeah.
feel special apart from the day of your birthday, I think it is very important. We talk about equity, we talk about diversity, we talk about inclusion, we talk about everything. Uh, so if there is a woman's day, there is a man's day too.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
So technically speaking,
So, for me, yes, completely in agreement with Anjana that yes, we do have and we do sometimes stand for the women. We do participate in Nari Mochas. And we talk a lot about equality. We talk a lot about equity, but we still know that there's a huge gap. So
Absolutely.
celebrating Women's Day is equally important. If I talk about empowerment, I firmly believe that as a female, as a woman, we are already empowered. It is just that now we are getting a support system, be it at our personal life or at our professional space, and now globally through this International Women's Day. So yes, now empowerment is supported by the environment. So it makes it more empowered.
Absolutely. So I recently watched this movie called Lapata Ladies, and I highly recommend it that people should watch this film. Amir Khan production, directed by Kiran Rao. Amazing film. I mean, I just happened to saunter into the mall and said, "Let me watch a movie." I didn't know what I wanted to watch, and I saw the poster. It seemed interesting. I said, "Let me go and watch it." Amazing film about based in rural India, about how women still struggle a lot to find their own expression, their space. Do you think this phenomenon, Anjana, you being a TEDx speaker, accomplished corporate trainer, you have opportunity to rural, or it's also quite urban? This discrimination that happens right from childhood.
So very honestly speaking, am I against discrimination? Absolutely no. I'm not a feminist. I will not say women power, Nari Shakti, and all that. I would not say that. I strongly believe that men and women, God has designed us in a
Right,
particular manner. Like women can give birth to babies, men can't. There are a lot of things that men can do and women can't. Fortunately or unfortunately, the whole dynamics has changed because now the world wants to look at us as, oh, we are at par with men.
right,
We do everything that a man can do, but that's not even needed. Who's asking you to do everything that a man can do? Of course, you have the power to do it, which is perfectly fine.
correct.
Is there a discrimination? 1000% yes. There is a huge discrimination in the way men and women are dealt with. And I strongly believe that, that parity needs to come in there, where women are paid exactly the same way the way men are paid for the kind of job both of them are doing. I'll give you a simple example. So, at place, I remember, going to one of my uncle's house, and he has a huge field. So in the farming workers have come in and work. Why this? Oh, that's the way it is. So is there a discrimination? The answer is yes. And is it only in the rural segment? No, I don't think so. I think even today's corporate world, women are struggling. The fact that we don't have place in the boardroom is purely because somewhere down the line it is not matching, and that discrimination is happening. How, whether it is biases, conscious or unconscious, doesn't matter, but it's always happening. And you know
Right,
what? I was listening to Indrani Noori's one of interviews where she says that a lady's biological clock and her career clock is always in conflict. The day she completes her graduation, gets a campus job, that's the day a good proposal will come for her marriage. Chalo, marriage ho gaya. The day she wants to actually step up in her career, that day she'll come to know her pregnancy report is positive. The day she wants to go ahead and take challenging roles, that's the day the child is in 10th grade. The
correct.
day she wants to move further ahead, the child has completed graduation. So your biological clock is always in conflict with your career clock. And how come all those discrimination don't sit with men? So is there a discrimination? The answer is yes. Is it only in rural? No, it is all across. I think it is more got to do with what people look at it, from which lens do they look at it.
Right.
And I think that's what makes a difference. And are there house husbands? Yes. Do we look down on them? Answer is 100% yes.
And I
Oh,
think
he
women,
doesn't do it.
maybe the wife herself will look upon, look down upon the
Exactly. I
house
mean,
husband.
exactly. And I think that is something which is very important. Men can have, a lot of times where they become more caring, want to take care of the house. The women is somebody who's very aggressive, wants to make a career. I think it's fair enough to give that opportunity to switch roles and take it further ahead.
Right.
But is there a discrimination? To answer your question is a big yes.
So, Juhi, how do you manage this balance? You are also a mother and you have a grown-up daughter, fairly grown up now, and you have a business to manage, and you were working earlier. So, how do you balance it out? How do you balance it? Of course, Anjana, you can also share how you do the balancing act rather.
So I will again refer to Indra Nui's interview because Anjana has built up on that. And I picked up one thing which from it, that don't shy away from asking for support and don't feel
Mhm.
guilty about it.
Right,
Just because you have been born and brought up that you have to cook at your home, only then you'll be called a good woman. That just doesn't justify. So I have my support mechanism. If I have to move out of my house, I ask my parents to take care of my kid. If I have to move out for my business, I ask my husband to please supervise the maids who are at home and manage it. So asking for it without any guilt, that is what we as women need to learn. What
Correct.
happens even if we have support? So see, we in India, we are lucky that we have a external support. Same families, when they move out our, to some Western countries where both the male and the female are equally responsible for all the jobs, be it
Right.
household or be it external job, then they are okay with it because that is the environment. In India, the environment is different. So now, as women, if you have to balance it out, please stop feeling guilty that you are taking some external support. I
Absolutely.
cook when I want to. Similarly, my husband cooks when he wants to. So, cooking or in fact, any kind of work should not be discriminated on the part of the gender, whereas it should be who wants to do it and who doesn't wants to do it. Don't define it as a duty.
As a,
And
yeah,
also coming to one beautiful point, when we are talking about discrimination at rural and urban, I think this discrimination has moved from our urban culture to our rural culture. Because when I talk to my grandparents, they say we never had this discrimination. If the women were stepping out for some work, especially say in farming families, then the lady or the people who were at home used to manage the household work. So the gents used to manage the grandkids, the ladies of the house used to manage the household work, and both the partners used to go and work out in the farms. So I think this discrimination is moving from urban to rural more rather from rural to urban. So that was
and
my point of view.
there are also, I think it all probably starts with upbringing. This this discrimination, and certain stereotypes are built automatically.
No,
So
and you know what, Hari, I
yeah,
personally feel I totally agree with what Juhi said. And like you very rightly said, it's all about the upbringing. But where is this upbringing stemming from? And if you look at our ancestors, men were supposed to go out and work, women were supposed to take care of the house.
right,
That was the structure that a house was designed in. Today, with challenging times, women have also stepped out to work, but men have not stepped inside the kitchen.
exactly.
So, there is a very skewed growth if you had to be that way. So, when I do women leadership program, I always ask them that doesn't it happen that, say, for example, early morning, you and your husband both have gone out to work, both of them came back in the evening, and you both are sitting and having a glass of water, and your husband just gets up and says, Chalo, I'm making coffee. Should I make one for you? And you immediately jump out and no, 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 I will make coffee for you. Wait, why that? So there could be two reasons on a lighter note. One, probably the amount of mess that he does to make a cup of coffee is equivalent to a biryani, making a biryani. So probably the kitchen is so messed up that you don't want to clean it. Or his coffee is so horrible that you can't. There could not be any other reason for not asking him to make a coffee or being comfortable with he doing certain things. And I think that makes a lot of difference because when men have, step out and women were taking care of the house, today when women are supporting men in the outside world,
Correct.
somehow that, the responsive effect of men helping women in the kitchen hasn't actually gone to that level.
And it's something very, it's something very funny, maybe not that funny also. Since childhood, I've always wondered why after marriage a woman has to leave her home and go to the husband's home. Why doesn't it happen the other way around? I still don't have an answer to that. Has it got something to do with our mythological traditions or historical traditions? Where did it originate from? I have no idea. But have you ever thought about it? And I always wonder, a girl child who's growing up in that home, at a certain point of time, what is the point at which he starts realizing this, that I'll have to actually move out of this home, maybe change my surname, give up my identity, embrace a new identity. When did it strike you, that, this is what is going to happen with my life once I get married?
So I would like to answer this. See, when we talk about that, where did it come from? Honestly speaking, it came from the energies. That as a feminine energy, it is adaptable, it is easy, it is flexible as compared to masculine energy. But then as things progressed, The
Use.
society added the materialistic things that you
Right.
have to change your surname. Otherwise, till date, if we actually refer our mythology, okay,
Huh.
we don't call Parvati first the uh, wife of Shiv. We refer her as Himalaya ki putri.
Right.
Okay, so there was no mandate that you have to change your surname. That was materialistic things which kept on adding on. So it was more about the energies earlier. And now, when we are also talking about the upbringing, I think it is not majorly about the upbringing, it is also in addition to the social conditioning. I'll tell you my personal experience. I have been born and brought up in a very open family. And
Right.
although my parents come from a very conservative mindset families, but still, because they were open to changes, they brought us up in an environment that, irrespective you are female child, doesn't make any difference. They taught me how to manage home because they said that tomorrow, even if you have to hire someone, you should know how to supervise. You should
Correct.
have that skills. We are not asking you to learn something because we want you to do it. But if there's an emergency, you should know how to do it. And I think today, be it a male child's mother or a female child mother, everyone should teach their kids this thing because kids are moving out of geographies. I
Absolutely.
always tell my daughter that it is not about feminism or it is not about some discrimination. I'm just asking you to learn certain skills so that you are not dependent on anyone.
Yeah.
Even if when you know you have to guide someone what to cook, you should know what are the ingredients and how is it cooked. Okay. So this discrimination and this equality is not about that I am not going to do it. It is about that when males are given a choice, even the female should be given a choice. There should be not be a mandate. And I do a lot of sensitizations training, and I don't always speak only on behalf of females.
Right.
I totally agree with male discrimination also. I mean, imagine why are fairness creams only for females and not for males? Some males also want to look good. They also should, and look at the impact on the business, na? Why
Absolutely.
only that Dove is only for females? Why not for males? Don't they deserve a softer skin? They might also love their looks.
Because the world at large has given up on men on many parameters.
Yes.
So,
So again, we need to come out of that. Similarly, I loved the movie Key and Ka, where there was a
Yeah.
role reversal.
right, right, right. Okay.
And and trust me, it was not about the acceptance by the society. First, we have to accept. And what Anjana said correctly, if I am in a nuclear family, then things might be sorted. But if I'm in a joint family, and if my husband says, okay, let me make a cup of tea for both of us, immediately the elders will come and say, क्यों तुम तो घर के लड़के हो, why can't she make it?
Yeah.
We need to change that mindset. And that is why I always emphasize that it is all about changing the mindset, and it is not about fighting for everything. Just
Correct.
work on the mindset and things will get adaptive.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about this, who is supposed to do what, the stereotypes. Recently, I was attending an event, a CHRO summit, where there was a panel discussion. The few very accomplished women professionals were there. And they said, suppose there's an event happening. Why is it always the lady who has to greet the chief guest? Or carry that bouquet, or, whatever the tray is, and you gift. I mean, why can't men do the same? So it's about handing over a bouquet, right? Or an award. So what's the big deal? Anjana, coming to you, I'm always very inspired by your story of having survived breast cancer. And today you're a breast cancer coach. Uh, and I remember in one of our Learning Champions Club meets, you told something to the doctor. If you can reiterate that, and I think that is very inspiring, not for anybody, not just women,
Yeah.
anybody
So
going through a crisis. What kind of
you're
an
talking
outlook?
about you're talking about so there are two things that I told the doctor. Okay, so I'm
Yeah,
just going to reiterate both. So one, I remember the doctor who told me that you have 6 months time to survive. Um, I'm still there and he's gone. That's one part of it. But I think more importantly is when I was wheeled inside the operation theater. He before cutting me open or before giving me an anesthesia, he was going through my file and he was just asked, Anjana, so you're feeling okay? I was like, yeah. So he said, Are you allergic to anything? And he looked at the files and I said, yes, I am. And suddenly everything in the operation theater froze because my file said I was not allergic to any medicine. So before he gives me anything, he has to be doubly careful. So he immediately stopped and said, what are you allergic to? I said, these cancer tumors which are there, just get them out and then I'm sorted. I don't have any challenge with me. So, it is as simple as that. And multiple things that I keep telling my doctor as well. So, I did my chemotherapy under Dr. Suresh Gani, and every time I used to go for my, checkup there used to be a roller coaster laughter riot inside, and he used to always tell me, "My God, this girl comes, how much she laughs so loudly, she makes me laugh. People outside must be wondering what is happening inside." And I remember having an audacity to tell this to my doctor once that, when he was examining my breast and everything, the other breast. So when he was examining and he said, no, your lymph nodes, everything is fine. I said, you know what? I envy you, doctor. So he looked at me like, why? I said, I give you 1,000 rupees to even physically touch me and enjoy myself. So he had a hearty laugh and he's like, oh my God, I never looked at my profession like this. But the point is, what is it that we are looking at? So, Juhi made a statement that it's all about the upbringing, it's all about the mind shifting. And I would like to add to that, saying that, today things are changing. Acceptance in the society is so much more. How many breast cancer, what do you call patients had you ever heard in the past? People were not even open to it. It used to be a hush hush thing. Don't say, as if it was a disease that would probably spread with touch. It was that bad. But I think now things have changed. In fact, even now, the schools have started making mother's name mandatory in the admission. So, when you write your daughter's name, it's no longer Nivedita Vinod, it's Nivedita Anjana Vinod. So,
Yes.
that has changed. And I think the mindsets of people are changing. Acceptance has become more. And I think today's generation is more about compatibility and adaptability. And I think that's what is changing in today's time. And hopefully, with balancing act that is happening, I think that's really going to work together.
No, I wanted you to share. If I remember, you said something to the doctor. He gave you a certain time frame, and you said after the time frame, I'm still around. You went and told him that.
Yes,
What was?
yeah. So this is when he had actually examined my reports and everything, and he said, Anjana, 6 months max
Okay.
is what you have. And I was like, okay. And I was very positive, and I felt 6 months was not something that he can decide. So I in fact asked him. I said, "Are you sure?" So he said, "Yeah, I am very sure." And I remember it was 6 months and one day.
Okay.
So the day he told me that, it was 6 months and one day, I stood in the queue for 2 hours just to go inside and tell him, 6 months, one day, I'm still alive. And I did that for 7 days in a row. Till on the seventh day, he told me that, okay, my bad. Henceforth, I will say, we are doing our best. How much you're going to live is up to you. Well, thank you so
And
much.
how
So,
many years before was this?
21.
21 years. My God. Wow. Wow. I think that's so inspiring, and I'm sure you're also motivating a lot of other women who might be experiencing something similar. Uh, so, Joey, coming back to you, we speak a lot about what women should do to build their self-esteem and have confidence and etc., etc., etc. But what is that men can do? What is that men should do or men can do to ensure that the women around them in their ecosystem feel empowered?
Stop listening to
Apart
others.
from the fact that somebody, a nice guy like me, is interviewing two wonderful women, that's one thing men can do. What else?
So that's what, so I always tell men that first is stop comparing yourself to us. Yes, definitely, physically, we both are different. And stop listening to others. Because honestly speaking, if we talk about men, they are completely okay if the female of the house is not cooking. What disturbs them is when someone comes and tells them, Are, your wife doesn't cook, your sister doesn't cook. So
Yeah.
stop listening to that and listen to yourself that how you are balancing your family. And that goes for
Right.
females also.
And I'll just add one more thing to this, Hari. I also feel somewhere men need to learn to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I'm the man of the house. I can't cry. I can't show my vulnerability. How can I say I'm weak? How can I say I can't do it? Why not? Why not? I mean, it's not a taboo if a man has to cry and feel vulnerable and say, hey, you know what? I don't know how to take this ahead. It's
When
perfectly
you are human,
fine.
why are you playing God?
Hmm.
Exactly. 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 So I think adding on to what Juhi said, being vulnerable will probably show the women that, hey, you know what? You're not a superpower. You're a part of us.
Right. And did we lose? Have we
No,
lost
no, we
Juhi?
didn't.
I'm
Oh,
there.
you're there. Okay. So I recently I gave a talk on power of balanced thinking for a group, for a for an audience about 50, 60 people. And I said one of the ways, one of the critical things to keep social balance is how boys are trained to look at girls. From a young age, when they are growing up, how do they view their sister? How do they view girls in their school, college, whatever? And I think that is something extremely important to understand. We comment about, let's say, a kind of dress a girl has worn, but why wouldn't you comment about a boy wearing a particular kind of dress? And why is it that a girl needs to prove that I'm decent? Why not a boy? Doesn't he also need to prove that he is decent? So I think it's all. And if you see today, the millennial generation, a lot has changed with them. I think they are far more. They are far more just. They are far more equal with each other, and they have a different outlook. So how do you see the millennials today? I see young boys and girls. Many of them, they have a far more progressive outlook than, let's say, a lot of people from our own generation. So what's been your
I
experience?
personally feel, yeah, so I teach at multiple colleges in India and internationally. So I deal with the millennials and now you call them Generation Alpha, so Gen Alpha. I deal a lot with these people. Um, like every generation has their pros and cons. I personally feel that one of the pluses that this generation has is they're pretty clear. They call a spade, number
Yeah,
one. However, the tolerance of the current generation is not as strong as the previous generation.
right.
Letting go is not something that today's generation wants to look at. When I look at people in my own house, when I look at my brother, he very openly tells my dad that, hey, you know what, I'm earning now. I will spend now. Why do I save for old age when I don't even know whether I'll have the capacity to do certain things? Practically sounding, it sounds very correct.
Yeah,
Correct. Uh, Today's generation changes jobs according to their fancy. So I remember my dad saying, join an organization and you retire from there. How many in today's youth actually think that way? I mean, building a relationship, but the good part about today's youth is they're having an entrepreneurial mindset. They
yes.
all want to build something where they can take the country to the next level. So I think that's the good part of the entrepreneurial part of it. However, lack of tolerance, lack of emotional intelligence is something which is lacking in today's youth. Compatibility, when we talk about, not everything is going to be your way. Getting hooked and getting divorced is equally easy. Okay, so sustaining a relationship is so difficult.
Yes.
Having multiple relationship is so easy. So there are multiple aspects and
Temperament,
facets to the whole
there's a
thing.
huge temperamental issue with this
Yeah,
generation.
yeah, yeah.
So my penultimate question, and to both of you, uh, is I read somewhere that the professional workforce, women comprise only 29%. So still there is so much happening around us in terms of women empowerment, development, and also parenting styles are changing, outlooks are changing, but still there's a huge gap. There's a huge gap in terms of the opportunity for women to come into the professional workforce and make an identity for themselves, earn money, have freedom. How do you think we can encourage more women to become more career oriented, maybe more entrepreneurial oriented? And honestly, there's absolutely nothing wrong in being a housewife or a homemaker. It's one of the most challenging roles that anybody can do. However, your talent gets better expression, and there is always this hidden thing about I need my own identity. That only comes when you're in the professional work environment. So,
Hmm.
Juhi, Anjana, very quickly, if you can share, what do you think is one thing that we should do to encourage more women to take up professional work?
I think one of the key things that comes to my mind is fear of losing out and giving them that ability to take the risk. I think risk appetite with women by DNA is much lesser compared to what men have. Men will take up more risk compared to what women do. So I think giving them that comfort that failure is nothing wrong and it's okay to take a risk. So say for example, Hari, if you had to start your own business and you had to take a loan and go ahead, you would do that very comfortably because
Right.
there's nothing to
He
worry
would not.
about. But yeah, but if you have to look at from a woman's perspective, I think the risk-taking appetite and the societal risk lookout is very different. So I think one way we can encourage women is showing them that taking a risk is not a challenge.
Okay. Juhi?
So again, it's more about how do you believe in yourself. So stop believing that you have to be dependent on someone else. And when we talk about risk taking, ideally risk taking is attached to finance. Okay.
Yeah.
And if we talk about females at our home also, we don't involve females in financial decisions. How many times as a female you have taken the decision that I want to buy this car and I'll buy it without consulting others? So start believing yourself, start believing on your decisions. And honestly speaking, I think women have the tendency of taking higher risk than males.
Okay.
Otherwise, who has that capability of leaving a house which they have been born and brought up for 25 years
Yes.
and go to a completely different family?
Absolutely.
Okay. So just believe in yourself, take risks. And yes, nowadays things are changing. So you have some support mechanisms with you. If you don't have that, build it around you. And as a woman, you can and you will excel. You just need to believe. So have that self belief.
Awesome. Anjana, anything you want to add on this?
No, I think I totally agree with what she said. So one is the risk-taking appetite, and also in terms of demarcating and saying this is not my domain. So, how often does it happen when it comes to finances? We always leave it on the men in the house. Okay, Acha, theek hai, you take care of this decision. At least I do that very often where I say that, hey, I don't understand numbers. I don't understand finances. But I think a basic understanding becomes very important. And I think women are very good with finances, just that they don't believe themselves. And the proof of that is the number of women that cursed the government for stopping 500 and 2,000 rupee notes. You know, the amount of suffering I think we all had because we lost out on so much of hidden money that we had kept with ourselves. So I think we have the ability to save. What is important for us to understand is while we look at our ability to go ahead and save it, how much capable do we find ourselves to be financially knowledgeable to deal with things. I think few pillars which are very, very important in terms of core strengths, which are very important for a woman. One is managing multiple tasks at the same time, which we anyways do, whether it's home, whether it's kids, whether it's work. I think the second aspect is the financial aspect. If we can be confident enough, I think the ability to take risk will be much higher.
Absolutely. So I think we can go on and on. Both of you are highly accomplished, and I thank both of you for being somewhere a part of my life, part of my community, part of the organization, the kind of projects that we do together. And I think I'm very grateful for that. So, any last thoughts? And also, how was it to be on the Entertainer Show?
So one thing I would definitely like to say is, while we call it a woman's world or a man's world, I think the way opportunities are important for women, I think also a mindset shift is important. And Hari, thank you so much for having that mindset shift, being an ideal man that could be a role model for a lot of other men who can say, hey, you know what? It's okay to pat a woman's back and say, you are doing a great job. So I
Absolutely.
think this particular show is a way of showing the world that there can be men like you as well. So that's my last word.
Thank you. Juhi.
I would like to just urge everyone that don't make it your new normal. So come out of that mentality, होता है, चलता है, यही तो दुनिया है, ऐसे ही तो जीना है. Come out of that and create your new normals. Okay, create a new world where both male and female are balanced. They are equal. And thank you so much, Hari sir, for creating this platform and giving everyone that opportunity that they can be themselves.
Absolutely. And so I've been interviewing women these days. So my last interview was with my mother. I hope you got to see that episode, and I'll also put that in the description, the link of that interview in the description. She's 80 plus, and I got so many messages from my friends saying, "Oh, how inspirational it is, and what a guiding light she is for senior citizens, and how she keeps herself active despite physical challenges." So, ladies, thank you so much. Juhi, thank you, Anjana, for being on this very special episode of the Entertainer Show to commemorate, to celebrate lives of women. Women's Day just went by, but every day, let's make it a Humanity Day, I think. While we will have our Men's Day, Children's Day, Women's Day, Boys' Day, and all that, but let's add value to people's lives. And so, thank you once again for
Thank
being
you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Super. Now I think